Hello, it's Jason with Contra-Based Conversations. Like you, if you're listening when this comes out, March 2020, March 19th, to be specific, as I'm recording this, I'm sitting at home and thinking, what the heck is going on in the world? And I was doing this yesterday. I live in San Francisco, by the way, so we are sheltered in place and have been for a few days here. So yesterday, I was setting up a couch in our new place when I got a text from Ranaan Meyer of Time for Three and said, hey, man, want to chat about what's going on for the podcast? And I think I texted back 5 seconds later and said, yes, please. I've been wondering, and we'll get into this, not much of a preamble here, what I am doing here on the podcast, what I should be doing, if there's anything I can do to help. And I was just so thankful that Ranaan reached out. I came away from this conversation feeling a lot better about things in general. Hopefully you will too. We're going to play a little bit of a track to get going here by Time for Three called Joy. It's an appropriate track for these times, I think, and for the tone of our conversation. And yeah, here we go.
We're in a big boat, unfortunately, but there's some like silver lining to that at the same time.
Yeah.
And have you been still doing your podcast during this time?
Well, it's such a weird way that I do this. I'm sort of, the disadvantage of the way that I do this is coming to pass. I do everything like a month ahead of time, or I'm always a month ahead of time. So I think I heard the advice from Dr. Phil or Oprah or somebody like, get ahead, stay ahead. So you never run out of content. So now I have this very tone deaf content coming out right now where I'm just happy go lucky. And so I am still doing it, but it's amazing. If I look at my calendar like a week ago and I listen back to like somebody I was talking with a week ago, it was like mild concern, right? And then 2 weeks ago, it was like, oh, life's good. I'm going to Chicago. I'm planning out this trip. And so, yeah, things change fast. I'm sure you can relate.
Well, let me ask you, like, have you thought about, and I totally agree with Dr. Phil. You want to have that arsenal in every way, right? You want to have that money in the bank. You want to have, your fences built, so to speak. But have you thought about maybe trying to do one of these in almost real time? Like one of the reasons I reached out to you is I haven't really done much of anything on social media. Time for Three is just about to start doing some things with regard to COVID-19. Yeah. And I was thinking, and this is your show, but I was thinking that it might be insanely helpful to our base people out there to give them a very real-time sort of real taste of feelings and impacts, and also silver lining and the things that we can do to like better ourselves and find opportunity in the most healthy way to, when the air does clear, how we're going to really prosper as bass players in this universe, and so I'm just curious if that thematically is exciting to you, if you want.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think that's the direction that this is headed for me, for sure. So I sort of like rethinking a lot of things, like probably people are doing right now. So yeah, whatever would be helpful to people out there, it's probably not what I typically do. Hopefully the time will come again relatively soon. We can kind of get back to some sort of normalcy. But yeah, I'm rethinking everything, and I would love to go in that direction.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm ready to fire when you are.
All right, we've probably already started. There's, it's funny. It's funny because like I have this little system for when I chat with someone again, which I love to do, and I think I wrote Ranaan Meyer round 5 or something like that, which is probably
Yes.
close. Yeah. So this is probably 13 years ago or so at this point when we first connected for the show with John Grillo. And over the years it's just sort of become less and less formal. So yeah, I just kind of start, and the recorder's going, and we start whenever we start, which we've probably started. So in the interest
Even
of being
better.
real. Yeah. Yeah.
Even better. I love it. I love it. Yeah. This is a hard it's an understatement. It's a very difficult time for so many people in so many fields. But I'm only an expert in one of those fields, or I only try to be an expert in one of those fields, and that's being a musician. So that's really what I know. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, family member, extended family, and I'm a musician. And when all of those things are in jeopardy to some degree, it's not the most comforting feeling. But for some reason, in these types of situations, it brings out just the best in people I work with, in my family, and my musicianship. It's extremely ironic. And I realize that I have a certain order, which keeps me calm and also helps me to continue to move forward and also find happiness during this type of extreme time. And I wanted to share that with people that I love so much, which is the bass community. And you're the platform for that, with this incredible podcast that you've created. And for me, the very first thing is just keep everybody that you love healthy, whatever you can do. And if that isn't possible, do whatever you have to do to hopefully get back to people being well again. That's number one. The second thing is check out what's going on financially. Obviously we're all being hit because what can't we do? Well, we can't gig, we can't perform.
Yeah.
We can't go make money doing what it is we love to do. And in some cases, there are exceptions to the rule. You might be a composer, so you have a commission on the table. There might be, you may have been an incredible saver, so you just save for this type of rainy day, so you can, figure that all out. But most people aren't that and haven't done that. And that means that you're just in this hole, and that's an also sort of form of stress.
Yeah.
So then how do you deal with that as a musician? You got to figure that out. It doesn't matter if you're the most successful, most financially secure bassist in the world, or if you're a student that has a pile of loans and you literally are just like scraping by in every sense. We're all feeling the burden of what our perspective, our daily perspective is to the way it is now and the way it might be for a little bit. But know that we're all in it together, and there should be some comfort there, I hope. And then there's opportunity, believe it or not. And that's what I wanted to kind of focus on, because if we really spend time thinking about how can we improve, how can we find ourselves after this having even more success, more love from what it is we do, spreading more joy, having incredible perspective, and flourishing after this all is said and done. To me, that's not just silver lining. That's a gift in a very, very strange way. It's a gift.
Yeah.
And it's tough to talk publicly about a gift right now because it's so traumatic on all of us. But I think we also have to take the good with the bad because that's a reality, and that's a way to survive. So for me personally, I've been able to find more practice time through all of this. I've been able to compose more. I've been able to record more. I've been able to have incredible quality time with my family because we're quarantined.
Right.
And also finding unique ways to reach out to people that maybe I already touched on a little bit in my life before this. But with satellite lessons, I was able to teach an 11-year-old that's local to me that I never had time to teach before because I was so busy. Who's extremely talented, but because of my touring schedule, I just, between University of Michigan and the base camps that I do, I didn't have time for a private student or to just have a random lesson. And I was able to, and I got to tell you, it's been one of the highlights of the last few weeks of my life. This kid's so talented, and he was just adorable and amazing to work with. His name's Spencer. And that's beautiful. And I also learned a lot from working with him, and was, just as I hope most teachers feel, it's a working relationship. So you get to take from sharing your knowledge, and then you get to like just blow it up into your own existence. So I was transformed that day as a musician. So very long-winded kind of opening that I wanted to share with everybody, just to say that there is a lot there right now, even though it feels confined and tough. And I take a lot of peace knowing that.
I love that you're able to take that kind of view, and so early on. That's something I've been struggling with a lot. And it's funny, as you're describing Spencer to me, I can't help but think back 13 years ago. You were talking about a student of yours named Brent Edmondson.
That's awesome.
How he's gone on and done so many things. And and that makes me think, that makes me zoom out and think long term, and then think about the people that I've been working with, and like how it's this scary time for all of us, and it's this incredibly challenging time. But I love how you're able to see that opportunity. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk with you about, is like how do you and that you're taking advantage of the practice time and composing. I mean, me personally, I had been, we just moved to a new place. And so I was planning on taking this time to set up the new place and everything. So in a way, I'm not really doing that. I'm probably less affected than a lot of people at this exact moment. Obviously, for the near short term, there's going to be all sorts of challenges for me as well as everybody. But man, I've had a hard time just maintaining my daily routines and habits, and I've been having a hard time even pulling out my bass and working on things, even though I have the time. Like it's so cool that you've been able to do that. Like how have you been able to do that? I'd love to know.
Well, I think balance is really important. I'm definitely tuning into the news. I'm trying to keep to routine. We have a 2-year-old and 5-year-old. I mean, you said this is the 5th or 6th time we're talking.
Yeah.
So I imagine they'll grow in age as we do this too, which is exciting. But I have a 2-year-old and 5-year-old, and so we're homeschooling. My wife is homeschooling, and so sticking to routine is extremely important. We're still getting up at the same time every morning. Somewhere between, depending on when the kids wake up, it's between 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. We're getting to breakfast, coffee. We're making jokes with each other. We're not tuning into the news right away. We're enjoying our breakfast time together and our telling stories and all of that amazing family stuff. And then we have about 30 minutes where the kids play, and we tune to the news and kind of check out the biggest highlights, positive and not so positive.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, I learned in China today. This is March 18th, 19th, 20th right now that we're talking, right? So like I learned that there were 0 cases yesterday, 0 new cases yesterday in China. So that's positive news.
Yeah.
Whereas, we're receiving right now as Americans. So it's a little different depending on where you live, of course, where in the world you live. But looking at, okay, well, that gives us hopefully some hope that there is an end coming. That's a smile. But at the same time, we learned that my eldest, his teacher, pre-K teacher, was exposed to coronavirus, which means that since we've quarantined, which has been about 8 days, we have 6 more days to know that we're free and clear just from her. So we also have a time frame going on. So like now we're like more at code orange as far as, looking at and making sure that everybody's okay in my family. But still, right now we're all healthy and we all can keep learning. So my wife is, I have not seen my boys blossom like this since they've been homeschooled from Thursday. I mean, that's incredible silver lining. So it's been about a week and they're doing things from their brain power that I haven't seen them do yet. I'm starting to work on piano with my 2-year-old. My 5-year-old already takes piano.
Wow.
So, that's extremely gratifying. And, my wife and I also had, like, we get creative. Like last night, after we put the boys to bed, we got all decked out for ourselves. And we had date night in our home,
Nice.
So just again, trying to make the best of a situation. And then while Emily is doing about 3 hours of homeschooling in the morning, that's my time to be an artist, to shut out the business world, to not thinking about really any of the realities, but just thinking about being inspired, whether it's with the bass or composing. I'm downstairs in my studio and I'm actually writing a new work right now, which working title is Quarantine 2020.
Oh, nice.
And it's a 4-movement piece. And so I'm writing about the way I feel on an artistic and emotional level, and also trying to perfect or make more and more pristine my bass playing as I go. It's a piece that I've been really wanting to create for a little bit, which is taking multiple genres and putting it in a 4-movement piece. So more to come on that another time.
Wow.
So that's an exciting project that's just been on hold, and I'm getting to go for it. And then the afternoon hits, and it's time to kind of get down to the business of things that I have to do, putting out the fires, thinking about the future, making plans, making sure we have enough rations and all that stuff, checking in with friends and family to make sure they're okay. So that's generally what the afternoon is all about. And then the evening rolls around and it's time to, hang out with the fam and chill out and just sort of unplug for a little bit. So I think in all of my success in life, there's always been some sort of a sense of balance. It's just the balance is just a little different right now.
Boy, I love what you're describing is like my ideal routine. So I love that you're able to get that in, and like that uninterrupted block of creative time that you schedule for yourself, and leaving the business for the afternoon. That's what I try to do myself in non-quarantine times. I mean, is that kind of your ideal schedule if we just forget about what's going on in the world? Is that a workflow that resonates with you when you can leave the house? And I know it's different when you're on tour and that sort of thing, but what is that what you like to do outside of these circumstances?
Yeah, because brain power for me is definitely at its the way I work. People are different, but it's definitely at its high point first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. After I get up and get breakfast and get coffee, I should say. It's not like literally crawl out of bed and hit the base. I know some people do that. For me, that's not maximizing my potential. It's like about an hour and a half after I've really woken up. So yeah. And another thing you reminded me, I also have to exercise.
Yeah.
So that's part of my life too, and I'm fortunate enough to have a few little pieces of equipment that's making it so I can still kind of carry on what I was doing in the gym. So that's good as well. But yeah, it really is not too much different.
Well, I love that you limit because I mean this age we're living in without coronavirus is a place where we can sort of endlessly perseverate on the news, right? And now it's just like 10x that. I have to. I'm usually pretty good about that, but boy, I can go down some spirals, especially like being here in San Francisco. My wife is a doctor, so she's sending me things that literally look like a disaster movie at the hospital, and so I am trying, not always succeeding, but I'm trying like you to like tap in, try to find the positive too, and then shut that off. And I'm guessing though that 3-hour block, you're probably not checking your phone in that block. You're probably that's your time to move forward in your craft. I'm assuming.
I try to forget about the phone as often as I possibly can, but when it's artistic, for sure. In this time, it's hard to completely unplug from the phone just because you care about people and there's a volatility out there, high level of volatility out there. So responsibly speaking, can't completely get away from it. But I think in general, when I'm being an artist, I want to try to get that phone out of my hands because it is a really big distraction. Wow. So your wife's a doctor. Sorry, not to
No, please.
throw it back your way, but and I know you're living in a very, very hot zone.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's been particularly hard, I think, living here in San Francisco, like in the city. And I mean, we just got this new place. It's right next to our old place, but it has this great outdoor zone. So I'm sitting outside, but it's like a movie. I'm sitting outside. There's not a person on the street except police going around, friendly reminders to maintain shelter in place. You go out on the waterfront. Pier 39 is like chained off now. I mean, I have a gym in my condo building I go to every day, except now I don't because it's shuttered indefinitely. So I'm trying to maintain my routines and of course volatility is a good word. I'm adjusting, each day. And try. I actually, before we got on the phone here, I have some people that I check in with on their newsletters pretty much every day. Seth Godin, one of my favorite authors. Let me just read what he wrote today. I wrote it down in preparation for us chatting, and he wrote today. The title was Today, and he wrote, "We only get it once. Why waste it?" And then in terms of he's always got some sort of thing about showing your work and creating every day. And then he just concluded with the ocean is made of drops. And that just resonated with me particularly, like rather than staying on, I know, right. Rather than being on Apple News and just fretting endlessly and then, or, hearing from my wife, what's going on like in the thick of it and project it or not getting any toilet paper at Trader Joe's and being part of stampedes and that kind of craziness. Mm-hmm. I like checking with someone like Seth and trying to get grounded.
That's beautiful. I was reminded of a Mark Twain quote yesterday when I was listening to a CNN podcast, and they said I'm going to mess it up a little bit. It was something like the best way to cheer up yourself is to cheer up someone else.
Yeah.
And what better way to do that than with music? I mean, I know that like the piece I'm writing right now, it's all about that. It's all about love. It's just, when I say love, I'm not talking about a relationship with, like not a romantic thing, just spreading the love, spreading the joy. Yeah. And it feels so good. So, if you can just pick up the phone and check in on someone, ask them if they need anything, if there's anything you could do, even if it's just a voice for people to hear. I mean, I've had really good friends just like text me or call me saying I'm freaking out, and talking that person down a little bit, giving them some perspective. But it's funny because taking it back to the base, it's almost feels weird doing that, but taking it back to the base. So often we could be guilty of picking up our instrument and not being focused on inspiration.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect reminder of what that tool is for, and finding the way that you can really transfer your energy into being an inspired musician, a vessel. You pick up that instrument, and instead of I'm going to make this note sound so full of tone and be rhythmically perfect, and the vibrato is going to be just super precise. Those things are extremely important. Like, let them support what it is we're trying to say emotionally, and thinking about the character of the piece. I mean, it goes back to that simplification, but I go back to working with that 11-year-old a couple of days ago, Spencer, and he's so talented. And as soon as he released himself into really focusing on how can I make this phrase say what I want it to emotionally say, he became a whole different player.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of power in these times. I remember when I was a younger musician and I would play for a teacher, or I'd play at a jazz club or whatever, and I'd come up like eager for advice and wisdom, and that musician would look me in the eyes and say, yeah, no, you're really good. You just got to live life a little bit more. And I was always so disappointed to hear that as the criticism, as the constructive criticism, because first of all, I didn't understand it. And secondly, I just wanted to be able to do it now. And that person was so wise to tell me that. And that's now what I tell so many other people, is that, you need your heart to be broken. You need to live through an experience that's traumatic. You need to have extreme joy in your life. There's all these different things that kind of make up, who you become as an artist and how you become more and more mature as a musician. And so, this is a very extreme piece of the pie that, generations don't necessarily get to experience. So we're the unlucky ones, but in some way, we're also perhaps lucky in a very strange way.
Yeah, I hear you. I know. Not that we're at war right now, but I can't help but conjure up, or tradition, what you think of as a traditional war. But I can't help but conjure up images of London being bombed during World War II, and all those people just kind of like muscling through it. And I thought, like, what? How can you, or other war torn areas, and people are still giving concerts and being artistic and creating. And then if you look at after those moments, or even you think about the World War II generation that escaped Nazi Germany and came and flourished, all those Russian composers that came to Los Angeles, and other tough times in history. Just thinking about opportunity, I got another we got a lot of good quotes here today, but I read a Jack London quote, the good San Francisco native Jack London, and he said, "Life is not always a matter of holding good cards, but sometimes playing a poor hand well." And I kind of I resonate with that too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, man. Yeah. No, think of, well, it makes me think of two things, which I'm not an expert on either, but, on Frank, and Frank, and, of course, what she had to go through, much more, severe than what we're going through, of course. And the beauty that she was able to spread during that time. I mean, the optimism in her words, it just blows my mind, blows the world's mind. I mean, and then there's, 1918, the slang, Spanish fly.
Yep.
Spanish
influenza. Spanish fly. I thought that was a new slang for it.
No, it's terrible, because I'm actually mixing it up with fries that I really like in Philadelphia. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, the Spanish flu, 1918, that also pretty much started in the United States, early March, which is wild, and was in a small town initially, I believe in Kansas, there's this debate in numbers. It's like these crazy numbers, right? Like somewhere between 17 and 50 million people, they say worldwide, that died from this. So that's hopefully we're in different times, and we have handle on this. But these things don't happen that often, thankfully, and so I like the quotes that you share.
Well, interesting. Yeah, they definitely, thankfully, they don't happen that often. And it's thinking about being kind to others. What we're doing right now, I think I heard this on a podcast the last few days, is we're kind of in this social experiment right now of being kind to others by quarantining ourselves, right? Because you and I are not so likely to get this, but I think this is obvious for everybody listening, but spreading it to those vulnerable populations is the major concern. So like in a totally selfish world, I'd probably still be hanging out the bar here in San Francisco but watch. And so it's interesting to think about that what we really are. This is like a giant experiment in actually trying to be kind to humanity.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's like, that's what, that sounds like a great base camp right there. Sharing of knowledge, all working together, all learning from one another. I mean, why should that ever not be the main goal? I mean, that's, we have so much to share with each other. I was, one thing Time for Three was doing before this hit was performing more in hospitals. And we started in December and made it our goal to, everywhere we go, to at least play one hospital. And we've been playing all sorts of different hospitals, but we primarily focus in children's hospitals and people who really need it. And so when we do have the opportunity to circulate again, I can't recommend enough to people to get into places where people are challenged to get to the live performance and experience music for whatever hardships they may have, because it is life-changing for the people that are hearing you. It's that cliche line, the power in music, the power of music, but it really is true. I mean, what it does to uplift the spirit of these different people. And I can't wait to get back to that. And we've been trying to figure out like what's the best way that we can connect with those people via satellite right now, because some of these patients they're bedridden and they're so sick that they can barely do anything. So trying to it's hard to get like a video component to them, but we're gonna try to do things like that.
Well, I love that Time for Three started doing that recently. What inspired you to kick that off? Had you done that in the past, or was there something that were the three of you just talking about? Tell me about how that came to be.
Well, we partnered with this amazing organization called Musicians on Call, which they're from the Recording Academy. So they have in 30 different cities around the country have hospital partners, and they're really like creme de la creme hospitals. They're just extraordinary in every city that they represent. Initially sort of came out of the country music tradition, and then exposed all genres, and their headquarters is based in New York City. But they just have this amazing partnership. Their focus is musicians playing for bedridden patients. And that's just been an incredible partnership. But before we partnered with them, we connected with this incredible woman by the name of Marianne Tobias, who is out of Indianapolis. And she's a pianist and teacher, and she's also an incredible philanthropist. And she supported a bit of Wabash Institute, which is located in Wabash, Indiana. And all things considered, we will be in our 13th year running. We've already selected our 9 bass players for this year, for this June. And she said, let's do something really, really special and have everybody from the Wabash community also perform at this lobby concert that she organized in Indianapolis at Eskenazi Hospital, Eskenazi Health. They have developed, and they're one of the few hospitals that developed a lobby concert that also has video streaming to all of their bedridden patients.
Oh, wow.
So in addition to like playing for family, staff, friends, that sort of thing, then it goes to the patient's rooms during their lunch hour, and they're able to, sit up and eat, hopefully, and experience, the music for, a 45-minute concert, which is really special. And then also to add to all of that, Michael E. Mark's Family Fund, uh, got so excited about Time for Three and wanted to support us and groups like us going into hospitals and really like spreading the joy again for these people that are so challenged that they can't get to the live performance.
Wow. That's great that you do. I've done little of that in my life, a bit here and there. My wife, when she was a freelance harpist, did that. And thinking about the bass community, Lloyd Goldstein is a certified music practitioner in Tampa, Florida, and plays at the cancer hospital there. And like, if I ever want to bring a tear to someone's eye, I go to Lloyd's website and bring up just the video talking about the patients he works with, and it's such a beautiful thing that he does that you all are doing that, and yeah, it really makes you look at the music in a fresh perspective.
Is your what does your wife practice? Is she in a hospital or is she in a...
she's a radiologist. So she's a radiology attending at University of California, San Francisco, but has a master's in heart performance and played with Chicago Symphony and Lyric Opera and all of that. So it's been interesting to follow along with her journey into medicine and through this. And it's interesting to in this here at March 19th during this pandemic, it's just interesting to chat with her about that and get her medical perspective on what's going on, which continues to change day by day.
I bet. Yeah. Man, well, have you ever thought about going to, her hospital and making some music?
Yeah, I have. Maybe that's, yeah, I can see that in the future for me.
Man, it's cool. I mean, just like, and if we ever come out there, if Time 3 ever comes out there, we should get in her hospital and make a difference. That would be incredible. I'm wondering, like, I know they have San Francisco partners too, but she should check out, or have somebody maybe check out Musicians on Call if they haven't already. They're expanding. Obviously this has put a major halt in musicians doing this, that's also extremely sad. But it'll circulate back again very soon, I hope, once things are safe.
Well, I got to say, I find it inspiring just talking to you and how you're taking this. Taking this in stride, I guess might be a way to say it, but just like finding positivity and reaching out to people and continuing to create and look for the opportunity in this. It's such a, I'm struggling with it. I feel better after talking with you, and hopefully others will as well. And yeah, I'm going to put this out today or tomorrow. I'm going to change up the way I'm doing things. I mean, I've got stuff in the can from other events, and now I've got this, like, because I batch things, I've got these sort of hilarious conversations where we're both, the people I'm chatting with, are kind of growing more concerned with each of these. So, but it's interesting times we're living in, but just thinking about some of those quotes from times past and how people have gotten through this, or, I can't help but think about, where I was after 9/11. I remember that day. I'm sure you do too. We're old enough to have that be a pretty well stamped on our memories. But I was driving to downtown Chicago to get my bow rehaired, and I remember like going into the local bar and watching all this news unfold, and going to the bow guy, and he's like, the whole building's shut, and then just watching how people came together after that, especially the immediate aftermath, and being good to each other. And we're seeing some of that here now, and it'll be interesting to see that unfold. And hopefully for your next base camp, for us as musicians, us as humans, we can, this will bring us together in some ways.
Look, I don't mean to be, also, like, for everybody listening, I don't want to, like, oh, Joe Positive, just like, okay, just, the world's ending and Renaan's just like, things are great,
Right.
and I mean, that's not really the point. The point is, there's short term, midterm, and long term. And I think it's healthy to think through things like that, whether they're great or not so great.
Yeah.
Like for instance, you have an audition. Let's take the auditioners in the orchestral biz out there, and you go through, you practice for 3 months, 9 hours a day, and you go to your first round and you don't pass on. And you're just like, that was a waste of time. No. It wasn't a waste of time, because you can build off of that experience. So this is a moment in time. And it goes also to the people that win that person that won that audition that day. That's a great day.
Yeah.
But it's also not the end. And they're also not going to always have that great day, whether they win the job or not. So it's more about like thinking, keeping yourself in check. When great things happen, awesome. This is good. Build off of this. When not so great things happen, what do you still have to build off of it? And I think that's kind of, I maybe that's why I'm positive. I don't know, but maybe there's a perspective there that just kind of keeps me leveled out. When we get, we just had a great review come out today in the Strat. I read the article, and it was like one glowing thing after the next, and I was on cloud nine. It's like, this is an incredible couple of minutes. But I read the article, and that was that. Let's go practice. Let's move on. It's not something where you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to build my life off of that review. And even when you have a bad review, you especially don't want to build your life off of that review. So it's really a balance. And I hope that might give some people listening, a helpful tool to take into their future.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. It's great to chat with you. It's fun from my nerdy podcaster perspective to go into my notes and look at notes from Ranaan from 2007, and then from like 2015, 2017, 2019. It's just, so it's part of the things part of what I love about doing a show like this is just, and the longevity that this show has had, is just to like have that connection and yeah, short term, medium term, long term. It's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, your job is even more important now, too. Like at this moment in time, this is a time, I thought of you almost immediately. I thought about you and your show and what you do for the bass community.
Wow.
And how valuable it is. I mean, of course, when when it's beautiful outside too, it's like, this is also great. This is amazing what you do. But it's like, even now, it's, people, man, as musicians, we can get down on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah.
We're so sensitive. Anyhow, man, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah, and for folks listening out there, let me know what I could do to help. I like you, am sitting at home, so and I had a couple days ago, I was like, what should I do? And then I thought, I thought maybe I should just take a breath and take a walk, 6 feet apart from everybody else, and just let some space. And then I got a text from you, and we're doing this, and I got a message from Gary Upton, and I'm chatting with him about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so there's sort of like I think that this will sort of organically grow or in a new direction to help people. So I'm trying to also take the positive, look for the opportunities to connect with that bass community and help the bass community when we really could use it. So
I just spoke to Gary for the first time, 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
We had an awesome chat. He is a great guy.
He is a great guy. He's been a great friend over the years, and I just and I mean, just thinking about how fast this has all been developing. 2 weeks ago, I was hanging out with Gary in person in Pittsburgh, and now we're all locked up, across the world. And I mean, I think we were just mentioning in passing this coronavirus that we've been hearing about. So it's crazy times, but this too will come out on the other side of it, and I think that we can take a lot out of this moment and find the good in it, as well as obviously the challenges that people are having, financial, obviously health, and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, and let's keep going.
Let's chat again soon, maybe during this crisis, certainly after. But I really appreciate it, Ranaan. Thanks for chatting, and my best to you and the family and homeschooling. And I'm going to picture you tomorrow morning. If I'm feeling like I don't want to pull my bass out, I'm going to picture you in those hours composing your new piece, which I can't wait to hear, and practicing. And you're inspiring, man. You always have been. So really appreciate it.
Said was sickness in his bones, but he keeps a smile on his face. Oh, born with a heart that's overgrown, a song that beats its own pace. Misunderstood, fought to be good, hands in his pockets, his head in his hood, hiding and shy, a mess of a guy, fighting and trying and dying inside. He cries joy, joy. He cries joy, joy. Sing his praises he can't hear, when he can't hear his own name. Oh, all of the world has disappeared.